big news just dropped about the SEC and Ripple case. Now, I know it might not seem like the best news at first, but stick with me. By the end of this, I think every XRP holder who's feeling anxious will be able to take a deep breath and relax. Yes, this case is still very close to wrapping up, and I'm confident we'll have a resolution by the end of this summer. Let me explain why. First, let's quickly check in on the market. Bitcoin is still hovering around 17K, nothing too wild there. As for XRP, we've seen a bit of a dip, but don't worry, we're going to break it all down and talk about what this means for XRP and why there's still plenty of reason to stay optimistic. Here's what's happening in the market today. Bitcoin is down slightly, about 0.33%, while XRP has dropped 4.29%. Likely due to today's big news. Bitcoin briefly dipped to around 106.5K earlier, and XRP touched $2.08, nothing too dramatic, but it's definitely causing a bit of chatter. The buzz. Judge Torres denied the joint motion from Ripple and the SEC for an indicative ruling. Naturally, this has everyone feeling a bit uneasy. They think this case is just going to drag on forever with more and more delays, but let me clear something up for everyone right now. This has nothing to do with XRP. Remember back in July 2023, XRP was officially cleared in court as not being a security. And just recently, we got even more confirmation on this. So this isn't bad news for XRP at all. Honestly, it's kind of funny seeing people sell off XRP because of this ruling. There's no reason for it. XRP is in the clear, and this case doesn't change that one bit. Eleanor points out something important here. The new judge emphasizes that private deals don't erase public judgments. Her ruling still serves the public interest. Basically, the parties involved can't just decide to ignore a court's final decision. There's no way around that, and they haven't even come close to doing so in this case. If they want to move on, the judge made it clear they either withdraw their appeals and let the judgment stand, or stick with the appeals process to challenge it. In other words, this whole thing could be over tomorrow if Ripple really wanted it to be. Even Ashley Prosper chimed in, saying Judge Torres essentially told the SEC, you wanted this, and now you've got it. Here's the situation. Ripple, if you want the case to end, go ahead and end it. Nothing stopping you but you. She's definitely one tough cookie. So what's next? Does Ripple pay the fine, accept the injunction, but secure an exemption from the SEC for future sales? Do they go for another shot at the appeal or move forward with their cross appeal instead? And what about the SEC? Do they push ahead with their appeal or decide to drop the case entirely? Honestly, I think both sides might end up dropping their cross appeals since they seemed open to that idea already. The fine isn't a big deal for Ripple, and the injunction, while it might sound restrictive, could actually turn out to be a good thing. Think about it. An injunction, typically seen as a penalty, can actually become a mark of credibility when viewed through a compliance-focused lens. Ripple can't just wing it or make reckless moves anymore. Every decision has to pass court scrutiny, or they risk being in contempt. But here's the upside. Ripple can spin this into a positive. They could market themselves as the only crypto company operating under a federal compliance mandate. Imagine the tagline, no more legal surprises ever. That's a level of trust and transparency that's rare in the crypto world. And here's an interesting note from the court documents. If both sides genuinely want to end this litigation right now, they can simply withdraw their appeals. If the parties want to make the court's orders disappear, they can use the primary option Congress has provided to get relief from the legal effects of judicial decisions. Honestly, this could all be wrapped up tomorrow if they decided to end it. All Ripple has to do is withdraw the appeal or take the route Congress has set up for relief. Like I mentioned, I really think this could all be over by the end of summer. I'll explain why I believe that in just a second, but first, let's take a look at some insights from Fred Rispoli. Here's the situation with the lawyers, especially Fred's role in all of this. As for when things might wrap up, there's a status report due to the Second Circuit in August. That report will basically outline one of two paths. One, the parties could ask the appellate court to restart the briefing schedule, meaning the appeal continues. If that happens, we're looking at this case dragging on until late 2026 or early 2027. Honestly, that's the worst case scenario. No one wants that. Two, the other option, the parties tell the appellate court they've settled the case and ask for the appeals to be dismissed. If that happens, the rulings by Judge Torres stick and the case is officially over. My gut says we'll see the second option play out, with an announcement coming around the end of July or early August this year. So here's the deal. This all seems to be lining up perfectly. What am I talking about? Let's jump into what Meta Lawman recently pointed out. The SEC and Ripple don't actually need any court's permission to dismiss their appeals. My guess? We'll see both sides drop their appeals soon. Why? because their lawyers probably saw this coming. They had to anticipate that Judge Torres wouldn't change her previous ruling. Now, here's where it gets interesting. I think we'll see this wrapped up by the end of summer. Why summer, you ask? Well, a couple of reasons. First off, when you think about the Genius Act and the market structure bill, basically the much needed clarity for crypto, those are expected to roll out by the end of summer. In fact, August 1st is the big date everyone's watching. Recently, the banking GOP shared some exciting updates. Senators Tim Scott, Cynthia Lummis, Tom Tillis, and Bill Hagerty introduced a set of principles aimed at shaping digital asset market structure legislation. These principles are all about creating bipartisan efforts to bring regulatory clarity, encourage innovation, and protect investors. Big shout out to Chad Staingrabber for his contributions here. The U.S. Senate Banking Committee is working on a comprehensive framework for the digital asset market structure bill, which is expected to become law before August. A key focus is drawing a clear, economically sound line between digital asset securities and digital asset commodities. This is all about aligning with existing laws while bringing more predictability, legal precision, and much needed regulatory certainty to the space. At its core, this initiative is designed to balance innovation with regulation, protecting those who buy or trade digital assets while ensuring that anti-illicit finance measures are thoughtful and innovation-friendly. Federal financial regulators should embrace responsible innovation, especially when it comes to digital assets. Big changes are on the horizon, with a major shift expected by August 1st. I can't remember the exact details of Eleanor's recent posts, but I know it was about a bill. Pretty sure it was the Genius Act. From what she shared, it sounds like Trump is ready to sign it as soon as it lands on his desk. The goal is to have everything wrapped up by August 1st, which could open up huge opportunities for digital assets in the US. Trump has made it clear, no delays, no extras. He wants the Genius Act on his desk ASAP so he can sign it. But now we're starting to see some buzz in Congress and the Senate, with many pushing to add the market structure legislation bill into the mix. The idea is to bundle both together, get them signed, and have everything enacted into law by August. Trump's deadline, August 1st. Will it all come together as planned? Hard to say. But if it does, we could see big changes for the market, especially when it comes to regulations. If this gets passed by August, expect the whole market to wake up in a big way. I think we're getting closer to seeing this case start to wind down. Recently, David Sachs shared a great post thanking Senate Banking Committee Chair Tim Scott and Digital Assets Subcommittee Chair Senator Lummis for laying out a clear plan and timeline for comprehensive crypto market structure legislation. The goal, to introduce the bill before the August recess, hold the markup in the first week of September, and wrap it all up by the end of September. If all goes to plan, we should see some real progress by late August. Plus, President Trump has shown support for clarity on market structure and stablecoins, which is a big win. July is shaping up to be an exciting month with potential bill signings that could bring much needed genius and clarity to the Senate. All right, so we just need to hang in there a little longer, but I have a feeling we're going to see some big moves this summer. By the time summer wraps up, a lot of this could finally be resolved. Everyone's so focused on the Ripple versus SEC case right now, especially XRP holders. I totally get it. If you're holding XRP, you're probably just waiting for this whole thing to be over. And honestly, who wouldn't want to be done with the SEC drama already? But here's the good news. XRP itself, the digital currency we're all holding, is fully cleared. There's zero concern about whether it's a security or a currency. That's already been settled, so we can breathe easy on that front. We know without a doubt that crypto is a currency. And here's the thing. There's been a big push from financial services and the GOP for more clarity around this. On June 26th, the Clarity Act was introduced, aiming to bring regulatory certainty, protect American consumers, encourage innovation, and strengthen the U.S.'s leadership in global finance. When you think about it, almost every major bill related to digital assets right now is focused on supporting American crypto and the companies driving this space forward. Just look at how much attention companies like Circle and Coinbase are getting. And then there's Ripple, a company that's been a key player in the crypto world for ages. Ripple's token, XRP, is not only one of the oldest cryptocurrencies dating back to 2012, but also one of the largest. If you think about it, why wouldn't this case be fully resolved so Ripple and XRP can be fully embraced in the US? With all the new legislation aiming to support US-based crypto projects and companies, plus the market starting to open up for digital assets here, it makes sense to get this case wrapped up. Honestly, why not aim to have it done by the end of summer, especially with Genius and Clarity bills likely to pass soon? At the end of the day, there's no doubt about it. XRP is in a good spot. So if we're talking about Ripple, I guess this isn't exactly great news. She's denying it, but at the same time, she's saying that if Ripple really wanted this case to be over, they could end it tomorrow. As for XRP, no concerns there, honestly. I find it kind of funny that we're seeing a sell-off right now, especially with it sitting just under $2.10. It's hovering right around that level, and I'm curious to see if we can hold steady there. Looking back to the 4th and 5th of this month, we did manage to hold that level before, but once we lost it, we saw that sharp dip. As I mentioned before, lower price action is always a possibility, but if we take a step back and look at the bigger picture, I think we're likely to see major closes above at least the $1.90 level. This would help ensure we hold the lows from March and April. That said, it's important to stay patient right now. We also need to keep an eye on Bitcoin. It really needs to clear some of the recent highs. With Bitcoin dominance being so strong, any big swing low could hit altcoins pretty hard. As for the XRP Ripple case, there's really nothing to stress about. It's mainly focused on Ripple itself at this point, so no need to worry. A lot of people think the case is super important for things like ETFs and XRP adoption, but honestly, it's not. Now, when it comes to Ripple and its institutional clients, that's where the case really does matter. The good news, we probably don't have to wait much longer for the case to wrap up. Lawyers are saying we should see it resolved by the end of July or early August. At the latest, it might stretch into September to line up with the US legislation timeline. But overall, it looks like we could see both appeals dismissed pretty soon. I think we'll have this case wrapped up pretty soon. With everything coming together, I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you did, feel free to give it a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss more awesome free content. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.